Have you ever looked around a room full of people, colleagues, family, even friends, and still felt completely alone? It's strange, isn't it? You spend your 20s building relationships, your 30s building a life, and then, somewhere around 40, you pause and realize you're surrounded by people, yet something feels missing. That deep connection, the kind where you feel truly seen, understood, supported, isn't as present as it once was. Or maybe it was never really there. If this sounds even a little familiar, you are not alone. In fact, more people in their 40s silently struggle with emotional loneliness than we often admit. It's not just about having someone to grab coffee with or send memes to at midnight. It's about having someone you can be real with. Someone who listens without judgment, cares when you're not okay, and doesn't vanish when life gets messy. In this video, we're going to gently explore 5 ways to rebuild that kind of connection. Not the surface level stuff, but the real, soul-nourishing kind of support that helps you feel grounded again. And no, we're not going to tell you to just join a book club or text an old friend. This is deeper than that. More intentional. And it starts with something surprisingly simple. Let's begin with the first shift that changes everything: being honest with yourself. We've gotten so used to wearing the "I'm fine" mask that we don't even notice it anymore. We go to work, we take care of our kids or aging parents, we handle bills and errands. But under it all, there's often a quiet ache, like something important went missing, but we're too busy to go looking. Here's the truth: emotional connection starts when you stop pretending you're okay when you're not. That might sound cliché, but it's real. The moment you allow yourself to say, "I'm feeling disconnected," or "I miss having someone to really talk to," you are no longer numbing it, you're acknowledging it. And that's powerful, because it opens the door for real change. I remember a woman named Trin, a client of mine, who told me she hadn't had a heart-to-heart conversation in nearly 3 years. She had a husband, 2 teenagers, a team at work, and yet she felt invisible. The turning point for her wasn't some grand gesture or relationship overhaul. It was one night, sitting alone in her car after a long day, when she let herself cry. And she whispered out loud, "I need more. I can't keep doing this alone." That moment? That's when she began to build her way back. Which brings me to something you might not expect. Real connection doesn't start with other people. It starts with reconnecting to yourself. When's the last time you asked yourself, "What do I actually want from the people around me?" Not what you think you should want, not what looks good on social media, but what you honestly crave. Is it support? Encouragement? Vulnerability? Adventure? Sometimes we lose connection with others because we've lost clarity within ourselves. So here's a gentle challenge. Take 10 minutes tonight. No phone, no noise. Just you and a pen and paper, or the Notes app on your phone if that's more your style. And ask yourself, where in my life do I feel unseen? Don't rush to fix it. Just notice it. Acknowledge it. That awareness is the beginning of deeper relationships. Now let's talk about the second way to rebuild emotional connection, and this one's a little scary. Take the first step, even when your voice shakes. Many people wait for someone else to reach out, to initiate, to say "I miss you" or "I've been thinking about you." But what if the person you're waiting for is also waiting for you? It takes courage to go first. But vulnerability is contagious. I'll never forget what happened when my friend Min, a single dad in his late 40s, sent a voice message to his college roommate after almost 10 years of silence. He didn't make it fancy, he just said, "Hey man, I don't know why I let so much time go by. I miss our conversations. If you ever want to catch up, I'd love that." Min told me he almost didn't send it. He thought, what if I sound needy? What if he doesn't reply? But guess what? His friend called back within an hour. They talked for 2 hours straight. They've been back in touch ever since. Sometimes it's not that people don't care, it's just that everyone's waiting for someone to go first. And if that first step feels too big, start smaller. Comment on someone's story with something real, not just a fire emoji. Ask how they're really doing, not the "how are you" that expects a polite answer, but the kind that shows you mean it. Vulnerability, even in tiny doses, creates space for real connection to grow. It's kind of like planting a seed. You don't see results overnight. But with consistency and care, it begins to bloom. And that leads perfectly into something most of us underestimate: consistency over intensity. You don't have to plan deep conversations or heart-to-heart dinners every week to feel connected. Sometimes, just showing up consistently, sending a thinking of you message, sharing a song that reminded you of someone, or checking in every Friday, builds more trust and emotional support than any grand gesture. Think about the people you trust most. Chances are, they're not the ones who only show up during crises or holidays. They're the ones who show up in small ways, often. So if you've been feeling alone at 40, or 45, or even 50, maybe it's not that the connections aren't there. Maybe they just need tending. Like old paths in the forest that used to be well-worn but have become overgrown with time. You don't need to bulldoze your way through. Just take one step, then another. And before you know it, the path begins to open again. Let's keep going. Because the next part of this journey? It's about redefining what community really means in this stage of life, and how to find it in ways you may not have expected. You know, when we were younger, community meant something obvious. School friends, office coworkers, the crew at the gym. You were just naturally around people all the time. Connection happened almost by accident. But in this phase of life, it's different. Now, everyone's busy. Between kids' school drop-offs, demanding jobs, caring for parents, and trying to have even a sliver of personal time, friendships don't just happen anymore. They require intention. Which sounds exhausting, I know. But here's the secret: you don't need a huge circle. You just need a few solid people, and the courage to build connection in places you might have overlooked. Let me tell you about Lane. She's 47, recently divorced, and moved to a new city for work. She knew no one. And the first few months were brutal. After one especially lonely weekend, she found herself scrolling endlessly through local events on Facebook, just hoping for something, anything. And she found a group called Sunrise Walkers, a bunch of strangers who met every Saturday at 6 a.m. to walk around a nearby lake. No pressure, no fancy outfits, just people showing up to move and talk. The first time she went, she almost turned the car around in the parking lot. I felt ridiculous, she said. Like some awkward teenager showing up at the wrong lunch table. But she didn't leave. And if no one does, that's not a sign that you're unworthy. It's a sign that it's time to build a new kind of support system. One that's aligned with who you are now, not who you were 10 years ago. You see, we all evolve. And so do our relationships. What worked in your 20s or 30s might not serve you anymore. That's not failure, that's growth. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. And experience is powerful. Let this be the chapter where you choose connection with open eyes. Where you stop waiting for perfect people and start embracing real ones. Flawed. Busy. Sometimes awkward. But capable of so much care, just like you. You're not too late. You're not too much. You're not alone. Let's keep walking together. Because in the next part, we'll talk about something that ties everything together, something most people overlook when trying to rebuild connection: how to feel at home with yourself again, so that no matter who's around, you're never truly lonely inside. So here we are. We've talked about reaching out, about saying the scary things, about making space for the people who want to walk with you, if only you'd let them. But there's one more layer to this, and it's maybe the one we avoid the most. What if the person you really need to reconnect with is yourself? I know. It sounds like one of those motivational posters with a sunset in the background. But stay with me. Because so many people, especially in their 40s, wake up one day and feel like strangers in their own skin. You've spent years being who everyone needed: a parent, a partner, a boss, a caregiver. But somewhere along the line, you stopped checking in with the person underneath all those roles. When was the last time you asked yourself, what actually makes me feel alive? Not what's expected of you. Not what keeps the peace. But what makes your soul exhale? You see, loneliness isn't always about not having people around. It's often about being disconnected from your own voice, your own desires, your own sense of self. And until we start repairing that inner relationship, no amount of external connection will ever feel quite enough. I remember this moment with a client, let's call her in. She was 44, 2 kids, recently promoted, and completely burnt out. I have people around me, she said. I have support. But I still feel hollow. So we tried something simple. I asked her to spend 20 minutes a day doing something only for her. Not something productive. Not something that benefited the family or her career. Just something that made her feel a spark. The first few days, she couldn't think of anything. She had forgotten what she liked. Forgotten what laughter felt like when it wasn't forced. But slowly, things started to shift. She remembered she used to paint. She picked up a brush again, just for fun. And every time she did, something softened in her. She laughed more. She cried more. And one day, she told me, I feel like I'm finally coming back to myself. That's the kind of connection we overlook, the one that lets you be your own safest place. Because when you feel whole inside, you stop grasping for scraps of validation outside. You start attracting people who meet you where you are, not where you pretend to be. That authenticity creates magnetic connection. And more importantly, it gives you the courage to walk away from relationships that only feed the surface. So maybe part of rebuilding emotional support is learning how to be alone without being lonely. Learning to enjoy your own company again. To take yourself out for coffee. To journal. To walk without earbuds. To give yourself the kind of attention you've spent years giving away to everyone else. You are worthy of your own care. And when you start treating yourself like someone who matters, it shifts everything. Because now, when someone shows up in your life, whether it's a friend, a partner, or even a stranger, you're not coming from a place of emptiness, hoping they'll fill the void. You're coming from fullness. From I already belong to myself, but I'd love to share this life with someone else. That's real connection. Not dependency. Not performance. But presence. And look, I know it's not always easy. We're all carrying old stories. Some of us were taught not to bother others with our emotions. Some of us had friendships that faded, marriages that ended, or parents who never modeled real emotional intimacy. It's okay to feel scared. To feel clumsy. To feel like you're learning how to love again from the ground up. That's what healing looks like. That's what midlife is for, not a decline, but a reawakening. You're not broken. You're just uncovering parts of yourself that got buried under the noise of life. So here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to become someone else to feel connected again. You just have to start showing up as the version of you that's been waiting quietly inside, hoping you'd finally listen. The one who's still curious. Still creative. Still full of love and longing and wild, messy beauty. And yes, it takes work. Yes, it takes vulnerability. But oh, it's worth it. Because when you finally feel seen, by yourself, and by others, it's like breathing fresh air for the first time in years. And I promise you this, it's not too late. No matter how disconnected you feel, how long it's been, or how many times you've been let down, you can begin again. You can find your people. You can rebuild trust. You can create a life that feels like home. Not just on the outside, but deep in your chest, where it matters most. So take the first step. Reach out. Show up. Be brave enough to say, this matters to me. And if no one said it to you in a while, you matter. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Your presence, right now, in this world, is not an accident. Let's walk this next chapter with open hearts, a little more gentleness, and a whole lot of grace. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one small step you're going to take this week to reconnect, with yourself or someone else. And if you found even a flicker of hope in this video, consider sharing it with someone who might need it too. Let's build this community, one real connection at a time. Here's to living stronger, deeper, and more connected, no matter the number on your ID. Take care of you. And I'll see you soon. Before we close today, I want to share something that might stay with you longer than any tip or technique I've given. It's this: connection isn't something we find. It's something we build. And that building happens slowly, one real moment at a time. It's in the way you look someone in the eye when they speak, instead of checking your phone. It's in the way you listen without rushing to fix. It's in the quiet messages you send at 9 p.m. that say, "I'm thinking of you." It's in choosing to stay 5 more minutes when your instinct is to retreat. These are the bricks. The mortar is your presence. So if you're still feeling alone at 40, know that loneliness is not a verdict. It's a signal. It means your heart still longs for something more, and that's beautiful. It means you haven't given up. It means there's still something inside you reaching for connection, for softness, for belonging. Don't ignore that. In fact, honor it. Because that ache? That's your invitation back to life. I know you've been through things. Maybe you've been the one who always held it together when no one else did. Maybe you're exhausted from trying so hard to matter in people's lives when it feels like they've forgotten you. Maybe you've lost someone you thought would always be there. Or maybe you're just tired of being the strong one all the time. You don't have to be strong here. Not right now. You just have to be real. And that's enough. That's more than enough to start. Because real connection doesn't require perfection, it just asks for presence. You don't need the right words. You don't need to be impressive. You don't need to have it all figured out. You only need to be willing. Willing to take that walk. Send that message. Ask that question. Answer truthfully when someone asks you how you're doing. There is someone out there, maybe even closer than you think, who is also longing for the same kind of honesty. The same kind of shared space. The same exhale of finally. Someone sees me. And if you don't know where to start, start here. Start now. Leave a comment below, just a few words. I'm ready to feel connected again. Or this spoke to me. Or even I don't know what to say, but I'm here. Because this community we're building, it's not just a YouTube channel. It's a space for people like you, people who want more than just noise. Who want real stories, real hearts, real healing. So if you're still watching, let this be your sign. You're not invisible. You're not forgotten. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to start building something beautiful. And here's my promise: every time you come back to yourself, every time you choose truth over performance, every time you reach for someone with kindness instead of waiting in silence, you're healing not just your own loneliness, but maybe someone else's too. We are all each other's medicine. You don't have to wait until it's perfect. You don't have to wait until you feel confident. You just have to begin. Because connection doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from caring enough to show up anyway. So here's to the walk back home, to yourself, to others, to the soft place in your life where you finally feel held. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message meant something to you, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone who might need it. Not because it helps the algorithm, but because it might help their heart. You are not alone. Not anymore. Here's to building something real again. Take a deep breath. And take that first small step. I'm rooting for you. Always.